Recording. Oh, it's recording. There you go. So, James, over to you for your 15 minutes. Okay. Everybody, enjoy learning about RPGs.
Thank you very much. The timer started. 15 minutes. Okay. Excellent. So, yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. It's been an excellent day so far. I've really enjoyed several of the talks. So what I aim to give you in the next 15 minutes is an idea of how to do a role play game in an English language context. Okay. Usually in a longer talk, we'd have time for a bit of a demo, but with just 15 minutes, I hope you have a good idea by the end of how to use these games in an educational and engaging way. And I'll give you some links and some ideas at the end of where you can go if you're interested in finding out more and putting this into practice. All right, so yeah, 15 minutes, about 14 minutes and 30 seconds left, so let's get on with it. Okay, so as Linda just said, social distancing does not have to mean distancing from your educational goals, okay? So the goal here is a goal that we had when we were back in the classroom in the olden days. So the objective of any role play game is, number one, to engage the students, to get them interested, to get them motivated, to get them involved, but also to get speaking as much as possible and to use target language as well. So it's not just fun for fun's sake, it's fun with an educational aim. Of course, you don't have to tell the students that. Okay, so of course, role play games are nothing new. Sorry, role plays, I should say, are nothing new in the classroom. Often in course books and things, there are different examples of role plays. But sometimes it can feel a little bit sterile because I don't know, there's a sort of dynamic that you know that you're in the classroom, that not always that realistic. You have to really make an effort to get into the role. You know, you're a banker and the other one's a customer and wanting to get a mortgage. It's useful, sure, but I think we can take it to another level with these role play games online. So role play games are nothing new, of course. I know that Sean's a fan of role play games, the traditional board games, such as Dungeons and Dragons in 1974, and as Ecclesiastes wrote there, nothing new under the sun. I wouldn't describe myself as a Christian man, but there's some good stuff in the Bible, so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The idea here is that we're sort of recreating and working with an old idea, but just because it's an old idea, it doesn't mean that it's a great one. So these games have been played for centuries, maybe for centuries, certainly for decades. So we're just sort of adapting these to the online learning environment. Okay, so what's special about a role play game compared to the sort of the classroom role play game in brackets that I described before? What makes it a game? So we still have a target language like in the classroom, yes, but the role play game is more interactive. Okay, so it's based around a narrative in which the students should feel involved. Okay, it's your job as the teacher, or when you're playing a role play game, you're not just the teacher, you're the games master, to create this atmosphere and really buy into the whole process and create the interaction that makes the game so valuable. So, of course, the narratives are through actions, and the improvisation is a really important part of the game. Sometimes doing role plays in the classroom, as I said before, can feel a bit sterile because it's sort of a set conversation, right? So you're the banker, okay, sir, madam, how can I help you? Okay, you're the customer, you know what you're going to say next. With a role play game, you don't know how it's going to develop, which is a fantastic thing, because if we think about how we use language in the real world, we never know exactly how we're going to use the language, right? You can be learning Spanish, but you go to Spain and there are always unexpected situations that you have to adapt to, okay? So creating that pressure and creating that need to improvise is, number one, very engaging and very interesting. And number two, it more accurately reflect how we use language in the real world. So for the students, this is extremely useful. So how do we make an improvisation, or how do we ensure that the game changes in unexpected ways? So we use the dice, the online dice. So as I showed you there, so Sean will be able to tell you a lot more about this. Many role-play games have a 20-sided dice, okay? And Elena Peresada at Trendy Games, which is a Russian company, and is actually at the forefront of these kind of role-play games for English language teaching, created this N-Raid company, which I worked for last year. We worked for about 6 months last year, and we were doing role-play games online with students around the world. So they created this dice. Okay, I'll just show you very quickly how it works by sharing a different screen. Don't panic. So the link is on the presentation. Okay, all of the materials are available online. I'll show you where that you can see them later on. So you just type in your name. I don't know who's written that. I'm Joker. And then you roll your dice, okay? And you get a number out of 20. So the lower the number, the less fortune you have in this given situation. So if it's a 1, something terrible's happened. So me as the teacher, as the games master, has to create the situation, and then the student has to react to it. Okay, and then we go along with the story. Paolo, can you roll the dice, please? 3. Oh, okay, well, something awful's happened. And then we go from there. 1, or something even more terrible's happened. 14. Okay, well, that's actually quite lucky. You've just been walking along the road and you find 20 euros on the floor. You know, depending on the situation, you have to adapt and improvise, and you know, that's what language use is in the real world. Learning in the classroom is great most of the time, but we also need to make it realistic, and adding in this improvisation element is the best way that I've seen so far. And you really see with the students that they're using the language, but they're focused on the goal, right? And they're very engaged because they don't know what's going to happen next. Like outside in the street, you just don't know what's going to happen. So you need to be ready for all eventuality. Okay, another thing you can do to spice it up a little bit is to create your own characters when you're doing a role play game. So I don't know, these are some of the characters that I've created. These are really screenshots from my lessons in the last few weeks. Of course, you don't have to do this. This is kind of an optional extra, and I really enjoy doing this. So the characters that you introduce into the role play game, they can have different looks. So here, for example, I'm pointing. That's no good, is it? I need to learn that we're online now. Here, I just took a hat on, right? And then I started speaking in a different accent. So if you want to add in this element, then students are exposed to many different accents as well. So of course, we don't want students just to get used to my accent from Southeast England. You know, this is part of an argument for another day, but one of the things that I do agree with in terms of TEFL equity organization is that students should be exposed to different accents, because they will be they'll be conversing, they'll be communicating with different accents. So if you want to try and bring these accents into the classroom, then you can do it yourself. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. I particularly like Tommy Shelby down there. We're going to make a legitimate business, Arthur. It's one of my favorites. And then, yeah, I do different accents every day. It's fun for me and it's fun for the students. But most of all, it has an educational aim, okay? So for each role play, you have target language, okay? As I said before, all of these slides are available, and I'll tell you where you can get them at the end. But there's a role play game called Welcome 1 and another follow-up called Welcome 2, in which the situation is that you get sent by your company, or you can adapt it to kids, and so you get sent by your school for coping so well in the quarantine. You get sent to an island, a hotel holiday resort, and you have to meet different people and sort of cooperate with new people. So you have to use these phrases to ask questions politely. Okay, so this is the target language for this role play game. So students get extra points on the dice for using these phrases, so they get more favorable outcomes, you see. So that's their motivation. Okay, so I realize I only have a few minutes left. So this is just an example of this Welcome to, actually the Welcome to role play game. And this is what students have to do. So this is the goal. This is what they're focused on all the time. And this is when they're playing, this is what they're thinking about. They're not thinking about, are we on page 11 or page 12? Oh yeah, do I need to read this and then you read this? You know, they're focused on something which motivates them, okay? The language is a vehicle to get where we want to get to, which is the game, okay? So this takes place here. So all of these slides are available, and then you say, for example, you roll a 1, and on your way to find the lifeguard, you get hit by lightning, okay? So what are you gonna do now? And then the student's thinking quickly, oh, maybe I could, all right, and then we go on with the game, like this. Also, this is a great one for practicing directions. I mean, you've got restaurant there, so you could talk about food vocabulary, leisure activities, sports vocabulary. There's tons of things there. You can really spread this out over a series of lessons. Okay, another one which is more for the younger learners, I'd say, especially students that are preparing for the PET exams, whenever they may be, is called Saving the Princess role play game. And I've actually written up a blog post about sort of step by step how to do this game. Okay, so you don't have to even think of your own situations in terms of the positive and the negative dice rolling. I've suggested many situations, so this is a very good place to start. And what we're doing here, the target language, is, as you can see, prepositions of place and movement. So that will be useful in the PET exam for describing the photo, for example. Okay, so I've just got a couple of minutes left. Just to make some more general points that I think echo a few of the talks that I've seen already today. So I went a bit crazy on the Lord of the Rings metaphors, but bear with me. So you can read that, I don't have to read it for you. So what I'm saying with this is, I don't think we can underestimate the importance of this moment. I mean, not just in teaching, but also in teaching, right? It's a significant cultural shift where we've had to put all of our practices online in the last couple of months. So it's been incredible to witness, and it's been kind of a wild west, where the best practice is still being worked out, and we're working that out together. So it's been a really great opportunity to collaborate with colleagues around the world. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it's like as the Stoic philosophers would say, and this is a capital S Stoic, that you have controllables that you can control, okay, and you have uncontrollables that you can't, okay. So we can't do anything about the coronavirus when the quarantine finishes, when we're back in the classroom eventually, if in September here in Italy or later, we don't know. So what can we control? We can do a lot of work and put a lot of energy into improving our online practices. And putting in trying out new ideas with the students. Like Linda said just before me, trial and error. Okay, don't be afraid to fail, because in the end, that's how you learn. And the students understand that it's new for us too. So yeah, forget the uncontrollables, because all the energy we spend on that is wasted, and focus on all the things that we can improve and can adapt and can put into our online lessons. So this is the last slide. Again, I couldn't stop thinking about Lord of the Rings when I was making this presentation, so we've got another one there. This is another story that really matters, okay? The months that we're living through at the moment are, as I said, significant, okay? So hopefully we can come out of this, not just with in-classroom practices, but also have great skills in online teaching. So that's the benefit that we're hoping for from this horrible period. So what I'm suggesting, I know I'm out of time already. So if you're interested in this idea for teaching. I really do recommend it. There's a group on Facebook called RPG in ELT. If you join this group, you'll see that there are many materials added there, and there are live trainings every Wednesday evening. At the moment, we're doing them at 8 o'clock Central Time. So that's Rome, so that'll be 7 o'clock British Summer Time in London, and then you can work that out. They last for about an hour, and it's a chance for teachers to practice being the games master, and also other teachers to learn how to play, so learn how the game works from a student's perspective. So usually, people come for a few Wednesdays as a student, and then it's great fun. I'm exhausted by that time on Wednesday, but I always go and I feel better after, and that's how students feel, right? So it's also a great lesson in that sense. And then when people are ready, they can volunteer to become the games master for one Wednesday. So we've been doing it for about 6 weeks now, and it's working really well. So please join that group and get involved. There's a demo recording. I can share it into the chat box just after we finish. I'm sure Sean wants to wrestle the microphone off me in just a second. There's a demo recording, so you can see I'm doing a demo role-play game with Livia, who's another teacher here in Rome. And also I have blog posts on RPGs. So the blog post I mentioned earlier about saving the princess. So you can have a look at that and please try it out. The only way to get better at something new is to try it out, make some mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and keep going up step by step. So yeah, don't rest on your laurels and keep trying new things and enjoying online teaching.
Hi James, that was great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I loved it. I particularly enjoyed the bit about the accents. I think that's great because I personally can't do any accents, so it's really good fun.
Well, that's also useful for the learners because some people, when they speak, you don't understand a word. So that's also good.
I think we do have a couple of questions. I think we might have.
No, I didn't. I wasn't looking at the chat box. So
I can read them out for you. So, do you prepare multiple scenarios, or do you rely on improvisation?
Yeah. So when I started, the scenarios were prepared, which is why I recommend starting with this Saving the Princess one, because you have the scenarios prepared already. But then after a short time, you get used to the things that can go wrong. So if we look at this one, I mean, look, you have a crack in the road. So think of all the things that can go wrong there, and then you just you get better. It's like any skill. Improvisation is also a skill, so you need to practice it. At the start, it's not easy, but you get better and better at thinking on your feet. But of course, you can also prepare scenarios before the lesson if you're more comfortable with that.
Great. And then someone's saying about the dice roller, if you can limit the highest number that it can go to. I guess you can just use any, dice roller that you can find.
You can, and you could even use physical. I want to do this online dice roller, which I'll put in the chat box as well. Is 20. So it's made for 20 because I think that's a sort of a traditional role play game number. So it goes from 1 to 20.
Okay, that's great. We have one more question, but I'm not sure we have time. So if you don't mind popping into the Q&A and answering that, typing
into the chat box.
Oh, into the Q&A box below. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yeah.
There's just one more. If you don't mind typing the answer to that one. Thank you very much, James.
Okay,
that was
thank you,
great.
Martha. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.